Happy Tuesday. You're watching Beyond 2D. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and this is my
I was about to drop some bars.
Okay, you had me completely panicking over here, okay?
Why?
Because you disappeared on the camera behind the scenes, and I'm watching the video counting down, and I'm like, oh crap. And then as soon as I opened my mouth to speak, there you popped on.
Yeah,
I was over here
listening.
panicking.
I was listening. These magic tricks, they work. Let me tell you.
I was already running scenarios of what I was gonna say when I popped on the screen and you were not there. You don't like I don't even know what's happening right now because my brain is still running those scenarios. But listen, listen, guys, it's Farron Dozier, my fabulous co-host, and we are in the middle of talking about love. LOVE.
I mean, you
yes,
are.
We.
You're in the middle of the conversation.
So listen, if you're joining us live, I would love for you to say hello in the comments. Let us know where you're joining from and chime in on the topic. Are you comfortable talking about love? Because one of us was really excited about this topic and the other one of us was not.
I'm not.
But that's okay. That's the point of what we're doing, though. Like, I mean, this is season 3. We've talked about a lot of things that don't make me very comfortable. Feel very comfortable either.
Yeah, but this is one of mine. So
yeah,
welcome to the party.
We're doing it together. It's fun. So we've talked so far about yes, it is. Listen, do we not always laugh and have a good time here?
From crying, I'm laughing to keep from crying.
Well, whatever we have to do. So we talked about like our own sort of definition of what love is, what that looks like, what it means to us, etc. And then last week we talked about love languages. We talked about the concept and we talked about the different love languages according to Dr. Chapman's book. But neither one of us really subscribe to, I mean, like, and me, I mean, I think they can be useful, but I think what we determined is to go figure out whether love languages is a thing for you or not. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. So we're talking about the different love languages. And this week we're going to be talking about unmasking love's challenges. We know that so many things having to do with love, it's like portrayed as this yummy, gooey, heartwarming, delicious thing. But that's how it's marketed to us, well, yes. Right? And so I think that's what can be really tough is when we do really love someone and now we're being challenged with something and our brain starts going, wait a minute, this isn't what you learned. This isn't what you learned that love is. And so, I mean, I think we've followed a good pattern so far, which is one, defining what love means to us, and then 2, looking at the different love languages and things. But now we're going to talk about the what's not marketed to us. Do you want to start?
Oh. I forgot. Well, I just want to say this. I'm honestly just still trying to figure this out myself. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just along for the ride. Let's go.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be
healing.
Great.
Okay. I'm actually healing.
Yeah.
Through this process because it actually aligns with the other things in my life that I'm up to about discovering my own self-love and self-esteem and self-worth and self-value, and self-affirmation. So it's actually right in alignment, and I'll share that part. I got to that today.
Right.
That's cool.
So okay, let's talk about I mean the what I talked about in the beginning, which is if you feel like love itself is romanticized, do you feel like people may have like a misconception of what love really is?
Oh, based off of my own personal experience only, definitely romance, I believe, means something different to everybody, right? You can say what romance is, and we'll all agree that we've we've experienced some level of it, but individually, I truly believe that you have to have a conversation beyond romance to figure out what it is for that person, right? Because your version of romantic and that person's version of romance might not be the same. And for me, what was left in those times that I thought I was being romantic in a relationship was I felt disappointed in myself, felt diminished,
Right.
felt like, oh, well, my ideas aren't good enough. So then, what now? And then
Right.
if the point that I was at, then why even bother? So then we're not even gonna participate in those romantic ideas.
Right. I mean, I think, look, many of us ladies out there, we grew up with the Disney movies, the princesses, and so I've seen so many memes and jokes throughout the years about that, and how we get this kind of skewed reality growing up of what love or relationships are supposed to look like. And I mean, not even getting into the continued, rabbit hole conversation about women's roles and things like that, because that's a whole other, I mean, Disney movies set up for disaster is what I'm trying to tell you. And
Yes.
no shade to my friends Kevin and Caitlin, who run the Magical Melodies show here on the network that talk about Disney, but y'all set us up for
Hey, movies, TV shows, your actual environment, like all that stuff plays a part in what we equate to as romantic or romance. And it's like I said, every environment teaches something probably a little bit different, or some things are similar,
yeah.
but I don't know. I
Yeah, so
don't
I
think
think
I'm
that
romantic.
there's ideas put out there of what things are supposed to be like, and it sure is, as you get into having relationships yourself, it sure does become quite the reality check when things don't go the way that you think that they're supposed to go. So let's dive into some deep questions here about love and itself, and some of these challenges that we have. This question came up and it's interesting. Why do we sometimes love people who don't love us back? And do you have to be loved back? I guess that's an interesting question.
um, Pre Farron, who Farron is today,
Mm.
I learned that I was the guy that would say, I love you, and then be like, and then if you don't hear it back, then you're like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
And what I learned was the best response to I love you is thank you. Because sometimes it's so much pressure on the other person who may not be
Mhm.
prepared or even thinking about that. And then they're forced to then say it back, and then the word becomes kind of watered down.
Yeah. I
And
want to hear from our audience though. Has anybody ever said thank you back to you if you've said I love you? Have they ever said thank you? And if they haven't, or they have, whatever, would it be awkward for you to hear thank you back as opposed to I love you or nothing?
right.
That's my question I want to know.
Yeah.
Does would hearing thank you back if someone said I love you, because I think that the majority would say it would be awkward for them.
I know
Yeah.
it is, because it's not what we're taught. We're taught
Yeah.
that, but ooh, she said they better not.
I knew Brittany was gonna come with it. I knew she was gonna.
Whatever, Brittany, whatever. But yeah, that's what I learned, because I was the person who was waiting for the return of the "I love you" back to feel good about myself, and it doesn't work. It's actually not good unless that other person is comfortable enough in the space to say, "Oh, I love you too," right?
Yeah.
But if you just say it back and forth, and yeah, oh, I love you, oh, I love you, it's like I love you, and it's 45 degrees outside, and it's like there's nothing there. And so
Mm.
I really had to do the work around that to be okay with not hearing it back.
Yeah, I think I'm good with not hearing it back. I think I would maybe rather not hear it back than thank you, but I don't think I would be offended by thank you. I don't think I would. It's just it's strange for me, like in that moment. And like so much of what we talk about here on the show, I feel like that would be then a great opportunity to communicate about it, like, where are you at with it, and have an actual conversation rather
Right.
than doing the Jessica move, which is in the silence, jump into assumptions
Right.
and spiraling and then worry and panic and stress and all.
Well, just know whoever that person is, that I would definitely have these kind of conversations, right? When it's
Right.
time to get to the I love you dialogue, it's like, hey, this is what's going on and this is where I'm at. And of course I may say, oh, thank you, I love you too, but I'm gonna say thank you in the space of acknowledging what you're reporting, you reporting your emotions toward me.
She said I would probably just leave that person alone after they said thank you. I love it. Because how Brittany is, yeah. See, I would rather say nothing at all than thank you. I think, because I think it's just really awkward to hear, because it's not. I feel very strongly that it's not what we're conditioned
No,
to
yeah,
hear
it's
or
not, yeah.
see. So we're taught like reciprocal where
Right,
love is concerned.
right.
And so I have to tell you about this because it's something that happened this week. And I hesitate now. Okay. So somebody went missing locally here, and somebody was looking for them and sharing on social media about looking for them, and that they had notified the police, but they wanted to put it on social media in case somebody like could find them or whatever. And in the comments of that post, somebody put that this person, I'm just going to leave it very vague, this person had been in trouble for something really bad, like really bad. So it was interesting to watch how
Mhm.
people's love shifted. The entire comments up until that comment talking about how the person had done something bad was, oh my God, I hope they're okay. I hope they can be found. How can we pray? How can we blah, 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 right? So then the person shared what that person had done, and I watched everything after that shift into hope they're never found. How could you
What?
support? Yeah. How could you
Oh
support somebody
my
like this and all of this
God.
stuff? So while it doesn't necessarily relate to love relationships like we're seeing, like we're talking about here,
Oh,
I think, I mean, we see that in love relationships too, where you're married for so long, let's say, and you're all, I love you, I love you, I love you, and then the relationship ends, and well, I hate you.
exactly. Exact. Tell me, make it make sense. Like how does one just turn that off?
Right.
That's why I'm ruined.
So then that's the question of, was it love at all?
That's why
Right.
I'm ruined, because it's like, how can you act like that and then just one day it's just like you just gone? Like, really?
That's the hardest part of love in relationships for me.
What?
And um I'm not just talking about like my husband type of love relationship that I have with him, but like even love within friendships and things like that. I have a really, really difficult time with endings. Now we can sit here and argue that, okay, well, because we've talked about boundaries on the show, which was a whole other breakthrough, right? But I, I can understand still loving a person, and then but having to create a boundary or something like that, where like no contact, whatever it is, because something happened for whatever reason. But it's interesting, but it's still hard for me to reconcile how it flips so often when I
Yeah,
see like outside of the boundary thing, like a just, I love you to I completely hate you the next day,
yeah.
because I just don't see love in that way.
Well, this is actually, this may fit why I said earlier in the episode that I was going to share where I am today, because what I've discovered for myself is that around relationships, what I have been avoiding probably 40 plus years of my life is avoiding shame
Mm.
and embarrassment. And the shame and embarrassment came from a space of when those relationships, like you say, you have feelings for someone, and then something happens, and then that like those feelings are gone. How I was left was embarrassed because I thought that that person liked me, right?
Right.
And then the shame that comes with the embarrassment, because now I feel like I have to explain to myself like, oh, where's so and so at? Where's she at? Oh, and I have to be like, oh well, she broke up with me, or she
Right.
left me, or that. And so for me, as a childhood, especially as a childhood wound, it came from a 2 year old with my mom,
Mm.
right? Being disconnected with, I titled that inspirational read is going to be titled Disconnected with Love, on how I was disconnected from my mom in the transition to live with my grandparents. And that was a fracture, right? At a 2 year old who barely had language, right? But I know how I felt. And from that moment on, the shame and disappointment of relationships, like I collected enough evidence in those 40 plus years that validated the experience of shame and embarrassment.
Right. Right.
And the one fracture, the biggest one was a peer age decision at 14. It's the girl that I don't know, I became my girlfriend in junior high school. But that conversation, and one day she tells me that you're not the guy for me.
Mm.
And in that moment, I decide I'm not going to be vulnerable, and I have to defend myself in relationships. And
Right.
that stuck with me from 14 until just last week.
Mm.
That I got to the core, the root of it was shame and embarrassment.
Yeah.
And how could I bring another person around? Because the embarrassment of as a teenager with all your friends at school who knew that was your girlfriend, right? And then now she's talking to somebody else, and it's like I gotta live that,
Yeah.
like the shame that came and the embarrassment that came with that. That was a guard or a boundary or whatever that I lived from my whole teenage to adult life.
Right.
and
Right.
and so I understand that how sometimes we talk about love and relationships, like you have no idea what the other person is dealing with in around love.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like so we pretend like everything's fine and we get in relationships. Oh, I love you and this and that and everything, and then because you're feeling that void in me, and then the moment you don't feel that void that I
Yeah.
need from you, ooh,
Yeah.
and it's like you just change.
Right.
And having to explain that for me, the divorces, like I had shame. I'm not proud of the divorce that I had.
Mm.
Like that was shameful. It was
Right.
embarrassing
Right.
for that relationship to end. And I don't think we as people allow those kind of spaces to develop it. How we call a safe space, I guess you could say.
Right.
To have that just be there without all the pressures of the love languages and you gotta be this and you gotta do this when you gotta be romantic and you gotta.
I knew you were gonna bring that back
But
up.
of course, because it's all connected. It's all connected. I'm wounded. I'm wounded. I need help.
I know.
But
Um,
but getting to the core of it, I could
yeah.
see why I'm wounded and why
Right.
why the fractures there, because it was nothing that anybody did to me. It was my own perception of love, and of course, I don't know. We don't know what love is as a child.
Right.
Like you don't know what that is. Like you know what you feel because your mind is in your bodies and your thoughts are there, but you don't know what that
Mm.
is as a child. You just know what you feel, and when it's broken, it's broken. Like you're broken.
Right. Right. So look, we know that love can leave scars, or I don't know if it would be love itself that leaves a scar, or I don't. So there's a saying that says that heartbreak is proof that love existed. How do you feel about that saying? heartbreak is proof that love existed. So if you're hurt after something happens, that
No
means
comprende
that you
nada.
loved them.
No comprende nada.
I don't know if
again it goes back for me, it goes back to feelings and emotions. When I say that I love you, I'm reporting to you on how I feel, and these emotions are being and it's expressed, and it's butterflies and it's these pains, but it's like excitement being nervous at the same time. They both feel the same.
right.
So it's like you have this love and you have these pains, but it's you, and then feelings and emotions. Hi, Teresa. You got
Yeah.
something to say?
So
Feelings and emotions. No good.
Okay.
No good.
I disagree. I just
No good.
disagree. Of course
Good.
with that. Because I think
Perception.
that I'm about to speak.
Teresa
I'm about
said
to
it.
speak.
No,
Can
Teresa
I
said it. Go ahead. That's perceptions. Yes, thank you. It's the perception, and that's what I was saying. As a child's perception is it's all made up. It gets corrupted. It gets broken. It gets fractured. It gets disappointment. It gets shame. It gets embarrassment. It gets all these feelings and emotions.
All of that leads to fear
or hurt.
And then we don't want to experience that again.
Oh, heck no.
On purpose.
Oh, heck no. I'd rather go to war than get into a relationship right now.
Listen. All right. We're not going to forget to do this week. We're going to take a quick break.
Are we?
We are. And when we come back.
Don't go. Wait.
Please don't go. All right.
You don't take breaks.
Now that song is stuck in my head, and this is your fault. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after this. Can love leave scars, and how do we heal from painful love experiences without shutting completely down in the next one?
I'm coming back singing my Boyz II Men song from the break.
We'll be right back. Oh my God!
Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home. Where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Welcome back to Beyond 2D. It is Tuesday, March 11th, and we are talking about unmasking love's challenges, and some things we've been talking about hurt tonight, which is a different direction than I thought this was going to go. However, I do think it's an important one.
It's part of it.
It is. It's a big part of it, I think, because I just finished the latest season of Love is Blind. They just had a reunion. Listen, I love some Love is Blind here, but I'm exhausted from you people this season. But so I was thinking about, in the scenario, if you've never seen Love is Blind, so they have all these couples go into these pod situations and they meet each other through a wall. They don't see each other, they just talk, and that's it. And they're like in there for 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that. And then some of them get engaged before they ever even see each other, right? So it's a whole process. It's really great and wonderful trash TV, everybody. But it's so funny that the parts of it where one of them says I love you and the other one doesn't, and I was thinking about that. Like, it's just so, it makes for fantastic TV because it's so awkward to watch. Like, you have one of them that's still trying to get there and the other one that's ready to have 3 kids and a dog yesterday, like, and it's a mismatch. But we're talking about hurt when it comes to as being one of love's challenges and what happens. So I asked before we left for break, can love leave scars, which I think we determined that we can carry things back with us, and how do we move on to a new experience without completely shutting down? Like, do you feel like today, if you could go into a relationship today and not have anything at all carry over from past relationships?
Oh, heck no. No.
I'm thinking to myself, that kind of shapes who we are in a way. I mean, okay, so and I thank Teresa so much because she brought back to my memory what I just learned. Our brain functions off of memory patterns, perception patterns, and action patterns. And those are automatic. Farron's not even there when those things happen. Yeah. And so I understand that allows me to then take responsibility for those behaviors and those actions, right? And so the moment that I was able to take responsibility from all those painful stories that I made up and my perceptions, I actually got free from them. Like, I'm not, like, the memories are there, but they're not like they just happened yesterday. Because what I did was I took responsibility for those relationships not working and working. So I could see where my behavior or my character, why that relationship could have failed, like why that divorce failed, because of what my contribution to that. But then I don't blame myself because look what we're talking about. Everybody deals with something. So it's not like Farron was on the island by himself and he's the only one on the planet who's ever been divorced, who's ever did whatever he did. So when you put all that pieces together and you can truly be willing to take responsibility for that failed relationship, even if it's a friendship or a business, man, you're free. Because I could see that I contributed, either if I withheld communication, it's still communication. And maybe I could have said something, that could have made the difference in that relationship to work. But because I didn't want to experience that shame or embarrassment, or I sound stupid if I say that, I can't tell her I love her. That would sound stupid right now. Right.
So then I don't say that, which could have been the thing that could have kept that relationship possible.
Right.
So I own that and I'm responsible for that. And so I'm actually free, but now I have to deal with the memories and the body sensations when they show up.
Right.
And that's a whole nother level of work.
We're gonna move on.
Oh, you don't want to go there?
Well, because I think there's so much to that. But one of the things we talk about a lot on this show is communication. I mean, every topic we're talking about the importance of communicating. Even when we talk about boundaries, we still, both Farron and I, advocate for communicating wherever and whenever humanly possible. I mean, obviously, you're going to have those niche situations that can be a challenge as far as communication, but you should always try to communicate. But so, how much do you think that challenges within love relationships do you feel like comes from miscommunication or misunderstanding?
Oh, golly.
How much?
70%. 70%.
I think even higher than that.
I was going to say higher, but I was thinking like 80, but I was like maybe 70 because the other, I'd say for me, 70% because the other 30% is on my past traumas. So 30% of my past and then 70% miscommunication.
Yeah. See, Brittany thinks 85%. Yeah. I'm thinking 85 to 90 because to me, even if, because I can think about very specific arguments that say my husband and I have had, and even if there's something that didn't start with a misunderstanding or miscommunication, the attempt or lack of attempt to communicate those things usually winds up being, so I would say like real high because it will turn into miscommunication and misunderstanding.
So let me ask you this question then. Who's responsible for miscommunication? Who's responsible party? Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, 100%. Because I can think of plenty of times where even if I wasn't going la 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 la, I was in my head going la 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 la. I didn't have to do it on the outside for it to be a thing. And I can think of plenty of times when he does the same thing. We are both very, very stubborn people, stubborn people. But we are attempting to be more open-minded when it comes to listening to each other in certain ways like that. And also, I know that you're not a fan of the love language thing, but expressing to the other how we're processing something. So for example, when my husband goes to process something that we're talking about, he will stare anywhere but over here. He will just be in his world. Okay, so here I am in my perspective going, you're not even paying attention to me. Hello, come on over here, right? Like you're not paying attention to me.
Look me in my eyes.
Yeah, hello. You keep saying how beautiful they are. They're over here. But and then from his perspective, he doesn't have as much control over his ADHD that I do. So he's just trying to focus and like stay on point and not to get distracted by my beautiful eyes over here.
Oh my goodness.
Now he didn't say that was me. That was me putting a little plug in there. But anyway.
Gotcha.
So it's like, just think about that though, from our perspective. So I will say to him, this is really important to me. I really wish you would look at me while I'm talking, because it feels like I'm being heard. And then he'll say, well, I was just trying to focus. And I'll say, oh, okay, I didn't understand. And now we've had that communication. Now I understand where he's at. He understands what's meaningful to me. And he'll start a thing now, or not an argument, but a deeper conversation about something now, going, I'm really going to have to focus as we're talking, not just as a courtesy to each other, because that's what we're learning about each other, and he'll make an effort to look over at me every now and then and make sure I'm good over here in my corner where he's not looking, so that's where the importance comes into me as far as miscommunication, because sometimes it's not even the thing. It's in discussion of the thing that the miscommunication happens.
I'm thankful for the personal development courses that I've taken, because I've learned that the phrase they use, when you get on it, you got to recognize to get off it. And so when I get on it, I can get on it where I want answers in the moment, or I can get on it where I just want to be like, leave me alone. Right. But then you communicate that and you say, hey, how much time do you need? You need 30 minutes? You need an hour? Like what? Like how much time you need to deal with that? Because we want to figure out what's going on. So that for me, that creates space for that person to go and do what they need to do. Or if I need to be like, I need like 10 minutes, I need like an hour, let me just go kind of get myself together. But again, it goes back to communication. If you communicate that, then the person's not going in their head thinking about what's wrong with me, right? It keeps that in front, versus, because when I go in my head, it's a wrap. I'm not good enough. I'm not worth it. I'm not. And no matter what you say, if I already feel like I'm not good enough, you could say, I love you, whatever. Let's go to dinner and be romantic. No. Because in that moment, I'm so dealing with whatever that is that I'm not good enough. So then why even bother? So then no.
Okay, so I think sometimes when it comes as like communication and maybe some of the things we hold back. A lot of people struggle to express their emotions about things, and it was so fun. So we've actually spent the day here on the network in at the World Building Expo, and I had the beautiful opportunity. I met an amazing girl named Cassandra, who was representing Rebel Magazine, who the Breakthrough Show Network was just featured in. Woo woo. So We Roar Magazine is amazing. I don't know if I said the correct name before, but it's We Roar Magazine. But anyway, they were having a discussion about culture and how our culture affects different things. And I feel like a lot of the things with emotion can be cultural. It could be what we grow up with. It could be, just whether it's right or not to express our emotion. How much emotion do we express? How do we express emotion and all of that? So do you think that there, besides culture, is there anything else that you feel like um can have people struggle to express their emotions or what they're experiencing?
So for me, because I could think back to the first initial kind of fractures, you said it earlier. Like, I know what that feels like to be judged. I know what that heartbreak feels like, and I don't want to feel that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna avoid that feeling. But guess what it does? It still happens anyway.
Right.
Because I'm trying to avoid something that needs to actually be addressed. Right. So the lack of confidence, the lack of courage. Now it goes back to who we're going to be about these conversations. So I'm either going to be embarrassed and shame and hurt, or I'm going to be confident and courageous and vulnerable or compassionate to myself first, to give myself the space to express myself. Because besides being judged, I believe that the worst thing besides being judged is slander. And if I'm dating you as a person, and I opened up finally to be like, okay, I love you and this and this and this, and then you go back and you tell your girlfriends blah blah blah, look at front, and I'm like, oh, like you just, like, I opened up to you and that's what you do. Like, so you don't want to feel that. So it's you have to be, I have to become a way of being that gives me my courage.
Right.
And vulnerable is not the word.
Yeah.
And what you resist persists. I love Teresa. It's my new friend today.
Teresa's usually not up this time of the evening. I'm like, what are you doing, Teresa? I'm so surprised. But it's so good to have you chime in.
You right on time, Teresa. You right on time.
That's it. Yeah, I know. She's bringing it out for everybody today.
For real.
So how do we begin to have tough but necessary conversations within our relationships about these challenges? Like, how, if you're in a relationship and your partner feels like y'all have an issue, how would you want her to approach you? How do you think you start those conversations?
Yeah, today it's like, I think, not that I think, but I would pretty much set the tone because I've done my work. And so I know how to share my past without being triggered by it, and articulate it to where it's not like I said, it's not going to have to be a problem today.
So is it important to you that whoever your partner is matches how you would communicate on something? Like, would match your same tone if she has an issue with something?
Oh, no, because everybody's different, right? So what I'm saying is, if I'm the one that takes the lead in that conversation and creates the space for it to show up, I'm educated enough about my emotional intelligence that I can remove myself from a conversation and listen to that person. So I'm not listening to the conversation if it's about me, unless she says, "Oh, this is about you," then I'm like, "Okay, then what do you got to say about me?" But if it's not about me, then I can remove myself from the conversation and then listen to that person and then communicate back and forth without bringing opinions to it. Because you say the la for me is we bring opinions. Right. I'm already waiting to respond to what you said something. So I'm already waiting to respond. So am I listening to that person? No, I got something to say about that.
And look, that happens naturally for us because I was sharing with you guys. If you guys came on late, we've had a ton of people here tonight, guys. So thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you for sure. And we're glad you're here. And please chime in the comments. Don't be shy.
Please.
We love you. Don't be shy. But so we were coming on the show. You guys can't see it from your perspective, but we have a little green room down at the bottom, and you can see each other's cameras down there while the show is live, but you guys aren't seeing us. So before, when I was playing the intro, Farron's camera went off, which is normal. I mean, sometimes we do it and we go off and do other things for a minute and come back, but we're getting to like third video played, fourth video played, and I don't see his picture. And I'm literally into the show. When the show first started, go back and watch. I was having trouble focusing because my brain was trying to come up with what to say when the show went live and Farron wasn't on camera. So we do it even outside of love things. Our brains are always like coming up with our own opinions, our own scenarios, our own how things are going to play out. So of course that's going to happen in an argument and stuff with your partner too.
And you have to know and live from that is not you. That's what the brain does. As Teresa said, there's brain patterns, there's perception patterns, there's memory patterns and action patterns that you've downloaded your whole life, and your brain has pieces of it ready to go in the moment that looks like another moment from the past. Like, I got so free from that because I separated myself from the brain operating the machine. So I take responsibility for the machine, because it's gonna say something, out of pocket. It's not gonna say "I love you" right back. It's gonna be like, "Oh no, I ain't about to say that because right now I feel weird."
Right.
So what do you say? I don't know. Do I say it back? And now the person looking at you like, "Oh, you're not gonna say I love you back?" Oh, thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Goodbye. That's the time Brittany hangs up the phone, everybody.
I'm good with that.
I love it. Oh my gosh, so funny. So we sort of touched on it before, about sort of conditional, unconditional love, because I feel like that's where there's some challenges as well. I mean, we touched on this in the last episode too, and then we were talking about the scenario I gave about the person being lost and everybody sort of flipping and changing their tune. Like they say that they love, I don't know. Like I don't know how I want to say this because I'm not sure it's going to resonate with me 3 years from now.
Wait, run that tape back.
What it's gonna be too. You want I think the
25-minute mark. Run it back.
I think that the experience of love and the energy of love are two different things.
Oh my God! Please define energy.
Like for your love at its core. We talked about that, love at its core. When we were talking about biblical stuff the first week, we were talking about this.
Yeah.
Love at its core, like love as it is in a box. If you could put it in a little heart-shaped teddy bear, something like love in itself, okay, as energy. The experience of love is something different. And this is something that we talk about in terms of joy on Project Joy Live. I end every show saying that you are joy, you are love. Those are what you are. But the experience of, which takes into context our, like, at a vibrational level. That's like
they say you lost me.
I know this is not your language.
You lost me.
I process it differently. So
you lost me.
When we're talking about conditional versus unconditional, to me, the vibration or the experience or love as at its core is unconditional. The experience of love, because we're humans and because we put everything in the way we put them as special people, the experience of love could be conditions because we're putting conditions on them. Like to say, this is love when, or this is love because, or this is love how. Brittany was saying she agrees. Teresa was saying the experience of love is what you do with the vibration based on your past programming. So it's different. It's different. I been listening to a prayer series the last since Wednesday for Lent in the morning. And it talks about the goal of Lent being to become more Christ-like, like to, and so
character wise,
right. So that's for me pure form of love.
right?
The whole story.
Yes, for sure.
So that for me is love in, like, if I could put a something on it, that would be it for me, like the love as a thing, like as itself. But the experience of it, like Teresa's talking about, it's based on your past programming. So what you've experienced, the hurts that we've talked about, the challenges that we've talked about, the miscommunications, the little triggers that whatever has us putting boundaries on things. So that's why I feel like there's oftentimes a miscommunication between, are we being love or are we just experiencing it through all of our boundaries and filters and the human part?
So and Teresa put a comment down there too, if you want to read that before I speak, because
which one?
The bottom one. She just put,
yeah.
How about this?
Unconditional love is a whole different level of beyond the everyday thinking about it.
Yeah. Yes. And so I again, we talk about the spiritual love of Christ and his ways. That's what we're striving to be, like that character. But if you understand your mind, will, and emotions, and how we are as people, that unconditional love versus conditional love, for me in language, it still has conditions. So I like to use on a spiritual level, it's just pure love, but also giving that to my own mind, my own heart, to say, let's not use unconditional love as part of our language anymore, because for me it doesn't work. It doesn't give me power.
Yeah.
So I just say love, like, right. But I'll translate when people say unconditional love. I'll go in my head and be like, okay, I get what they mean. However, if you understand your mind, will, and emotions, the conditions that we have, you got to be willing to give up your opinion. Now, you can have unconditional love with that person if I'm willing to give my opinion about that person, right? Because now my opinion won't put the conditions on there in our conversation, in our communication. So the more that I give up my opinion about myself first, allows me to give my opinion about you. So the vibration, now I can articulate the vibration that you would feel from me is love. Right. And in a mind, will, and emotions category, it could be unconditional love, because I'm not putting my opinions or worries or concerns on you. And that's the vibration that you experience in the presence of unconditional love. So I get how I had to get that for myself, because a lot of people use vibrations, and I'd be like, I don't even want to talk to her because I don't even know what that means.
Everything is I mean, you have your own vibration, I have my own vibration. Everything it's science. It's just science.
My age group we didn't talk about vibrations. We didn't talk about you have a vibration. Now the 90s children.
Yes, we did, because Mark said
that was in the 90s. I was 20 years old, and I'm beyond.
Look what he's saying. I'm
beyond vibrations. I was in my 20s. My issues was already done by my 20s. Well, I had a few more, but the main ones.
Shake, rattle, and roll vibration, or are you too young for that? Like, which one?
I'm not your puppet.
Oh Lord!
I was the Isley Brothers vibration. I was the Delphonics vibration. You cried. I'm James Brown vibration. You cried.
People, where have we gone?
Baby, please, baby, please, baby, please. can't do that today.
Good vibration. Beach Boys.
Is that what they were singing about?
Anyway.
Back to you in the studios, Jim.
It was definitely Marky Mark. Thanks, Danielle. Thanks for my back, girlfriend. Okay. You know my ladies come here and represent.
So I have to learn. I have to learn about these conversations because people today use vibration. So
Yes.
I think I got what a person says about vibrations. It's the presence of love or something in that space that you're reporting on an experience that you get from me. Right? Because but does that vibration live in my space or your space though?
Well, see, I think what you're talking about is more on the experience side of what I'm talking about of experiencing love. When I talk about love as a vibration, that like as a core, it is the thing that exists. Like there's a difference between that and
what we have as people.
Right, what we have as people. Yeah.
So the Bible says love your neighbor with the same measure that you love yourself. And when I took that conversation on a few years ago, I had to look in the mirror, and I didn't love Farron that much. So if I could tell the truth and put in a percentage, like you say, what percentage? I can't just say I don't love myself because that's just across the board. Right. Then I had to do the cognitive behavior part and say, well, what percentage do I love Farron? And then I was like, okay, I love Farron 80%. So then what is that 20% that Farron doesn't love about Farron? Because that's probably what I got to deal with that shows up the most. And I realized that I had to start working out that 20%. So then I could love my neighbor with the same measure I love myself. And the 20% that I don't love myself, I could then push that aside and love my neighbor anyway. Because I know if I know what I'm dealing with, I can only imagine what you're dealing with. And then that's that vibration in the space of, oh, that's that fruit that you're giving that person. I'm giving that person the fruit that I'm giving myself, which is compassion, empathy, humility, whatever we language as different things. But I have to have that humility for myself first, though. I can't give that away. I can't give you what I don't have. And I think people want a type of love from that other person that person doesn't have naturally. And then you're trying to pry it out of them. And that person's like, I'm a taco joint. I don't sell burgers.
Yeah. I was getting in my feelings over here, getting misty over here, Teresa, because this statement here is exactly what the focus of my Lenten prayer has been around, about prayer connection and then being more Christ-like in character. And it's so funny because this is the time of year that I think about my grandmother, who every time I talk about her, I get choked up. Because this was her favorite time of year. Her favorite time of year. And many of you guys know that for Christians that celebrate Lent, there's all kinds of different smaller celebrations or holidays within the Lenten time. And one of those is Holy Thursday, that talks about the washing of the feet. Mm-hmm. And in our church, they actually did that. They had people at the front that would wash your feet. You come and take your shoes off and everything else. And my grandmother was one of the ones that was chosen to wash the feet. And of course, at the beginning, I was, when she was first chosen to do it, I was a teenager and I was like, why you want to be touching people's feet like that? That is gross. So what are you doing? And she was like, I just remember her saying, if Jesus did that, then I should be jumping at the chance. Like she was just so humbled by the whole experience and feeling like that was such she felt like so close to all of the parishioners, and she didn't even know them. Like she just felt like it was just this intimate act, right? And so I think about all of this stuff that we're talking about, being love, especially being in relationship to God. And even in that scenario that I talked about earlier about the person that was lost and people changing their opinion of him because he did something wrong. I check myself in that situation, because when I first saw the article, my immediate reaction was, that's bad. Like, that's bad. And then I asked myself, but how, like, you, should I take the post down? Should I like not have shared it? Should like you go through all of these very human emotions afterwards, going into boundaries and protecting yourself and all these things. And I ultimately left the post up because I felt like that's what Jesus would have done. Like, because that's like, it's not for me. That comment was not for me in the thing to pay attention to. And so then I asked myself to take it even further, is if I was the person who knew that person, would I have behaved that way? Would I have like kept them as part of the team and everything else? And I had to face the fact of me going, I'm not sure if I would have. And then does that mean I didn't love them, or does it just mean I had it? Like, there's just so many things to explore when it comes with the challenges of love, and asking yourself, with so many, and asking ourselves why we experience what we're experiencing. And I just think, especially when it comes to love, the deep work around this, and like you said, coming back to the most like what's going on in here first, that is the best thing that can help the relationships outside of yourself, is to know the love within you, and in relationship to the divine, etc.
So what you said is perfect. People have to, again, that's where opinions come in, right? That's where judgment comes in. No, none of us can cast the first stone. Like I said, when you realize that you ain't the only one experiencing this stuff around the world, hey, there's no way that I could try to badmouth you or treat you crazy, because I know what I've been through, right? But I will say my part today, that around love, besides the shame and the embarrassment that I've been so trying to avoid, but still experience it in any way in these relationships, is I've been resigned in the relationships, and I say resigned because it's like, yeah, a relationship sounds good, but do I want to go through all the other stuff? So then why bother?
Right.
And then why bother goes on for 5 years, and you realize, oh, I want a relationship, yeah, but do I want to feel that again? Nah. So I didn't realize that being resigned and resignation also is an experience that I have about myself, and not just love, but in other areas of my life too.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, dang, if I have resignation over here, where does that bleed off into? Because it becomes a part of my experience of myself. If I'm resigned, then it's not just in one area, because I'm common in all of the areas of my life. So I'm like, oh shoot, it's I'm resigned about life. So love is inside of there.
There's a big trade-off to allowing yourself to go all in for love.
Ooh,
There's a big trade-off.
It's a risk.
It is, and I have to really quickly. Robert Lukian is here. I love you.
What up, Robert?
I love you so much. Okay, that's all. Why am I so emotional about this? And also Rhonda's here. I love you so much. I got to spend some time with Rhonda today, and of course Miss Danielle is out there. Thank you guys for being here this evening. I go back to this quote that I've said on this show from one of my favorite movies of all time. When Anne of Green Gables, you already know I'm going there. You could probably just roll your eyes now. Anyway, she says, "I can't help but flying on the wings of anticipation. It's as glorious as soaring into a sunset. It almost pays for the thud." And it makes me sad. I'm not going to lie to you. When, even though like it's surface level sad, okay?
Yeah.
Makes me sad when you and Teresa and other people I know tell me you don't want nothing to do with the relationship. It hurts my heart. Like, it's painful
Oh,
for
it's
me
pain. Oh,
because
it's painful here too. Let me tell you, it's painful.
like it makes me so sad from the perspective of like my first marriage was horrible. It was crap. It was abusive. It was all the things, and I would do it again. I would do it again. I mean, because what I have now is so amazing. I would do it. I would do it again. But I've always been, and I said this to Allison. Shout out to Allison from the WorldBuilding EXPO that I met with today. When she came in, I said, "You're gonna love the show tonight because Farron doesn't want to talk about it, and I am so Pollyanna with love. I really am. Like, I just am so. It's just so wonderful and great and fabulous. And it's just even in the hard times, I go back to the being mushy gushy, and it's just fantastic. Because that's just how I operate. I don't know any other way to be. When I can guarantee you, if any of y'all in the room, because some of y'all are awfully quiet tonight, any of y'all in the room that ever felt some kind of way in the negative about me, I promise you, I was over here just loving you to death. Even if I was annoyed with you back, I was still loving you so hard because that's all I know. That's all I know. So if I come across that way on these episodes, I don't think Farron and I are as far apart
Oh no.
as on love, but it just presents in a way that you have, the military man over here, and then Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
But see, again, I just like in a week and a half ago discovered that I've been living to avoid shame and embarrassment. So that's not just gonna go away tomorrow. Right. That's layers that I'm peeling off. And Teresa said another great point. Because of how I grew up around relationships, it's like why is an 8-year-old worried about a girlfriend? Right? Like kindergarten. Like all these, the 5-year-old, we got a girlfriend, you got a crush, and all these things. All that stuff can ruin a person by the time they're an adult, right? Because all those different feelings and emotions come up. But what I got for myself, Teresa, is I had to get to no relationship at all to go with my process and realize that singleness is not just a status. Singleness allows me to become oneness, deal with myself, heal my wounds, and the oneness allows me to become whole and complete. So when I'm ready to have a relationship, I've developed. I've got these skills, but taking that past experiences into a new relationship, I'm dating, 4 previous girlfriends in this current relationship. That's all bad. And I'm not even communicating. I'm not even saying that. I'm experiencing it in myself.
Yeah.
So I had to go and heal. Like I had to do this piece of my life so that I could find what you have. Right? That's genuine for myself to receive it. Because I lived in the shame and embarrassment like I don't deserve love because of all of the stuff that I've been through and the emotions and the blah blah, like all those stories. It's like, do I even deserve love? Like, and then who determines what I deserve? Does Farron determine that, or does the person who wants to be with me determine that? Like it's all those. And so
definitely not anybody outside of yourself.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So like Teresa said, that singleness, we look at it as a status, but it's also an experience that you get to go and figure out you. And I hope that, and I pray that we can help people do this early. I wish I had this conversation like this at like 16, at like 15. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So we're adults trying to figure it out. Can you imagine what our children are going through and what the
Yep.
people older than us have gone through. And we're sitting
That's
here
it.
trying to figure it out. Like at some point, we got to be like, you know what? How do we get this conversation to the next level or the generation behind us so they'll have their own conversation about love, but it won't be misunderstandings and boundaries, and it'll be something else.
That's it.
But they'll have a better understanding of what we're talking about.
Yep.
In our 50s and 40s.
Yep.
That I could have had this conversation in my 20s or my teens. Oh my God, I would be a whole different guy.
That's it right here, though. I am love. It's not that I deserve it. I am it. Yeah. That's it. That's it. Like you don't. But
we talk like that. But people talk like, oh, you deserve love. Right. Like, what are you saying? Right. Like, what are you?
And
what
in fact,
are you saying to
that's
me?
something that I really struggle with in the spiritual personal development communities is a lot of this chatter about what we deserve. Even like it's not being marketed as a bad thing. I will put that out there and say,
but
okay,
it's marketed like you're missing something. Like you're missing something,
right?
Though. It's like a lack.
Right. So if you are it, then there isn't
no lack. Yeah, there is no lack. I like
isn't.
that. Yeah.
So listen, here's the thing. This is what we're doing tonight. So I put the link down below, but some of the spots don't work. But the link is also in the show notes. If you go on YouTube and look for this video, it's in the show notes. I'm going to put it down below one more time. We're heading over the Auditorium in our virtual community, and we're going to continue this conversation, but hopefully with you. We've never done this before, but we're going to show up and we're going to see who else shows up and who would like to chime in on tonight's episode, and we'll see where it goes. But you just head to, if for some reason you can't get to the link, if you go to the breakthroughshownetwork.com and you see the button to join the community, go over to the community and join us in the Auditorium. Okay, in the Auditorium. And we're going to have fun, and we're going to go over there and finish the conversation. Next week, we're going to be talking about love in action. And it's going to be great. It's going to be fabulous. And we hope to see you there. Yes. You are. You're going to be there too. Yep. You're going to love it.
I'm sick that day. I'm calling in sick.
It's going to be great.
I got like 70 hours of sick leave. What are you talking about? You don't afford me no sick days.
Once we get established that we are love, how can we go forward and create a space of love around us for other people? So we'll talk about that and more on the final episode in our
Praise the Lord
in 2 weeks.
I'm glad there's not 5 Tuesdays.
Chuck Woolery will be back in 2 and 2.
See you when I see you. Peace.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you in the Auditorium. I'm Jessica. This is Farron. We'll see you for the next episode of Beyond 2D. Bye, friends.
I shall stand for love, even with a broken soul, even with a heavy heart. I shall stand for love, for the world is wounded, not just my little piece of land, where I am mostly safe, where I am mostly well, but our world, everywhere, every day. I shall stand for love, because we need more light, not more death, not more power, not more bombs. I shall stand for love, so that our children are safe, so that our friends are sheltered, so that our borders are open. I shall stand for love, even with a broken soul, even with a heavy heart.